What's up, party people? This is Tarkus Jude Mossberg here from Facebook profile, Jude's Junk Facebook comic book shop and YouTube channel. And I want to try to give you some insight into why you might see prices jump so much as we've hit the bottom behind us last year, and now you're seeing things go up. You might have seen things like Mr. Sinister be announced. You might have seen things like, the expectation for Venom, ASM 252 blowing up, various X-Men spec books blowing up. And you might think it's all due to just speculation and somehow that magically makes prices rise. But what's going on behind the scenes, if you're not familiar with it, is information is not perfect for buyers and sellers. Information is not perfect even if you subscribe to price guides. So what happens is there's always a lowest price on eBay. There's only one person in the world that has the lowest price on eBay. Everybody else in the world that's selling that specific book is selling it for higher than the cheapest. So when a buyer says, that's crazy, I can get it for $125 on eBay, the other 99.99% of the people selling it are not willing to sell it that low. And so you and I, if we're going to buy, we go, well, I'm not going to pay more than the cheapest price on eBay. And most of us are like, okay, sellers are okay. And as a buyer, I totally get it. But remember, there's a thought process with all the other 99.99% of the buyers, the sellers out there. They don't want to be the cheapest. So let's say that there's 3 or 4 books up. It's a hot book, gets popular, and there's a signing that's announced. So there's your cheapest, the next cheapest, then the next one, and then the next one, right? That's all that's on eBay. So someone else isn't going to go post on eBay because they're like, it's already saturated. I'm not going to worry about that book right now. And I'm not going to go that low because it's still. So this guy who's the cheapest, the pinky guy, he's not really paying attention to prices. He has lots of books online. Things go through the roof. He's not paying attention. So first come, first serve, first person to trying to hold my finger down. First person to jump on the board gets it the cheap. And the second one says, yeah, he got it for $150, but I'll pay $175 because I just want it. The next person's $200, and the next person's like $230. Okay, so there's a lot of people, when you see an ad go out on eBay or Marketplace or groups, we may not be pricing our books to be the cheapest in the world. We know that at some point there's going to be a run on the books. Maybe the books go up due to spec. Maybe they go up due to a small increase in demand, but the supply is limited to 4 or 5 books until other sellers see that those 4 books sell. This goes for $150, $175, $200, $250. And then all of a sudden that gets reported to GPA. So a day later, you and I are looking at GPA like, whoa, that was a $150 book. Why is it worth $250 now? Well, it's not worth $250 per se. It's that you had 4 buyers on eBay that wanted the book for that signing because they're speculating the book's going to go up, whatever. They were willing to pay for it. So by the time some of the other sellers see this, it might be a week later, it might be 2 weeks later, might be on the top 10 list for Comic Toms. And then they're like, whoa, I was selling it at my store for $150. It's going for $250. I better go raise the price. Okay. So you listen to Comic Tom, and he has the top 10 books that have got sold higher than the 12-month average. You're talking about the whole value of that book being moved by 4 buyers. 4 buyers that want to send it to a signing event. X-Men 239, get it into Mark Silvestri. The deadline's coming up September 4th. That is 10 days away. Now is the time to ship it in. So the next 5 sellers have to decide, is it really worth $150? Should I put it up for $150? Some of them are old school and they're going by Overstreet, so they don't care about the latest craze and the highest last sale. They're selling for a 12-month average, so they'll put it up for $150 and be happy to sell it. And then some of those guys are like, no, the last one was $250, the next one's going to be $275, so they're putting it for $275. So you can see there's this delayed reaction about sellers see in the recent sales, it's going up. Um, and depending on how those sellers feel, anybody could sell it for any price. Now, if I want to move it really quick, and last sale was 250, I might put it up for 150 because we know there's a lot of those books and it's going to flood the market and it's going to drop down to that typical price of 150 because there's probably going to be plenty of sellers out there. And by the time they see the Comic Tom, which is a week later, then they flood the eBay, and then now you're back to your 150s. Everybody puts it up for auction and it starts to normalize back to 150. So this is some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, why you might see a price increase. Oh, the book is going up in value. That could be because of a signature event. It could be because of a spec. It could be really a situation of supply and demand. Look at Absolute Batman. Just kept going up, 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 and up. Then it started to drop back. And then the movie announcement, cartoon. And then now it's back up to, 6, 7, 800, whatever. And it hasn't dropped. And it's like everyone's like expecting it to drop, but it's not. So demand is outpacing supply. There's not a lot of people that want to sell, especially with the announcement of the, they'll sell at the new high prices, but they're not going to sell them at what the average was a month ago or 6 weeks ago. So you're seeing a whole market move because of 4 buyers. Comic Tom is now reporting, boom, it's gone up. See how that catches on? And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's exploding. I better go grab it before it sells out. So the cheapest one on eBay now is $250. Comic Tom announces that it just went through the roof. And then the people that watch Comic Toms are like, I better get it for $250 before it goes up to $400. So now you have 5 purchases at $250. So it's a snowball effect. This is what I keep talking about when I say we're not going back to that normal flat line that you saw on these sales prior to 2018. When did Comic Con start? 2019, right? When did some of these top 10 websites start? In addition to, Cover Price was not doing graded books before. They did raw, not in 2019. Go Collect was doing it, but not to the extent they're doing it now. They weren't doing CBCS and signed and all that stuff. And Go Collect was a little bit under the radar. The de facto was GPA back then. And from what I still notice, not a lot of people use GPA. So most people use eBay sales. So the people that are looking on eBay sales, if all these things sold on auctions and people on eBay sales are, what are you talking about? The last sale was 150. Okay, well, there's been 4 sales on Heritage and My Comic Shop and, other places that report since then. So whatever you think you see as the last eBay sale, that's not the value. You got to have GPA and or the other ones to see a better picture of what's actually selling. But so you're seeing these quick ramp ups. We saw the quick ramp downs over the last 5 years. 4, 5 sales. Someone does the worst performing books, and everyone's like, okay, I'm not going to buy that book anymore. And then it drops further and it drops further, and then it goes below the threshold where it should be, and then it bounces, and then you see the price shoot up. Probably doing that backwards in the picture. It goes down and then bounces up. So this is going on in the background, and if you live and die by price guides and not understand the data, you could interpret that graph of those last 4 sales, 150, 175, 200, 250. You could interpret it as, oh, wow, it's going through the roof. No, 4 buyers at the same time, from whatever reason, said, I want the book. I want it now. And so that spec creates top 10 lists, which creates more spec. And that's why you have some of the old hat sellers going, this is just spec bum. I'm happy to sell it for 175. And so then you have some sellers that will get online and say, this is stupid. And that's with Absolute Batman. This is stupid. It's not worth $500. It's a $300 book. So all of a sudden you have someone posted it up on My Comic Shop for $300, or because they know they'll sell, but maybe they don't pay as much on My Comic Shop as they do on eBay, or maybe they get a special deal with Heritage or some of the other auction houses where they don't have to pay that 15%. And so I know one guy, what does he charge, 5%? I think one auction house only charges 5%. Or you don't even have to use an auction house. You just sell it somewhere on your own website or on PayPal Goods and Services, and you're like, you know what? If I can sell it for 175, even though the last two sales are over 200, that is great. It's been sitting here for a long time. I want to move it, and I want to get some other books. I want to go to a convention, so I need to move some stuff. I don't really like this book. I think it's spec. I'm going to sell now. And so you see it shoot up with those 4 sales, and then all of a sudden, whoa, another sale for 150. That's a trailer. I call it like a trailer sale. Like somebody either had it for sale somewhere that didn't know it went up and they left it there, or it's one of these old hat sellers who are like, it's not worth 250 just because someone paid 250. They think it's only worth 150 because that's where it's been for the last 12 months. So they put it up for 170 and they're happy with that. So every seller has a different thought process on how much he needs the money, because we're not all brick and mortar. A lot of us are reducing our overhead immensely by doing this from home. And you got the small dealers, medium dealers, then you got the big dealers, and the small dealers that are probably collectors / dealers. What I want for that book could change one day or the next. I want a $1,000 book, so I need to sell 4 $250 books. I don't really want to sell this for $250, but I'll sell it for $250 because I really want that $1,000 book. So I go up, I put it up for sale for $250, and it sells because the last sale was $250. And if it was a different month, I might have been like, no, I'm going to hold on to it because it's going to go up to $300, $350. So you got all these people and emotions and sellers and priorities and things going on, and the data behind a GPA isn't. It's very fluid. It's very fluid. It doesn't take a lot to move that needle. It's not like a stock market where you have thousands of trades going on and you're seeing it go up and down. That's why you can't read this GPA sales, because it's 4 sales. And the only reason those 4 sales are that high is because those 4 people wanted to buy it that day and they didn't know where else to go, so they went straight to eBay. So I don't know if there's a call to action. I don't know if there's an answer of what can you do as a buyer, what can you do as a seller. Again, I might be happy selling it for 175. I might be like, no, I'll put it up for 300 now. And then it goes up to 300, and then you see it sell for 350, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. So it's all the game of how much inventory do you want to hold on to? Do you want to move inventory fast? Do you think that book's worth more? Do you want to? I just got a Conan the Barbarian number 242. Been wanting one for a while. Jim Lee cover. 241 is the Todd McFarlane. I just got it back from the Todd McFarlane. Sold it right away for like $800 or $900. The last sale signed for a 242 also sells for $800 or $900, and you can pick one up unsigned for $150. Why wouldn't anybody be out there buying? There's one on eBay right now for 150 white pages. I'm tempted to go buy it. It's severely underpriced, and then you get a Jim Lee signature on it, and it's a $500, $700, $800 book. So the last newsstand of Conan the Barbarian 242 sold less at 144 than the cheapest direct. I paid over 150 for mine. So I go to price it, right? And there's someone on selling it on eBay for 150. And normally I try to be the low price fighter, but I'm not going to buy it for 150 and turn around and sell it for 150. It's just a waste of my time. Sometimes when we look up last sales, it's not just the cheapest. Okay, that guy that has it sale for 150, I think that's severely underpriced. And I go check what's the next sale. If the next sale closest to that is at 150, okay, that means that's probably where it's going to stay. But the next sale on my comic shop was like $350. Cheapest. My comic shop usually has cheaper prices than eBay, but in this case it's more than double. And then the next one on eBay was, I think, almost $300. So it goes from 150 to 300. So that means there's one seller out there that doesn't know what he's doing, most likely, and he has it for sale at 150, or you think that's what it's worth. He's happy to sell it for 150. And then the second buyer is going to be out of luck because he's going to go pay 300 if he wants it. So there's one book out there for 150, and maybe there's a bunch of eyes on this, and as soon as it sells for 150, someone else will pop one up. But it's kind of a popular book, popular artist, especially when he comes back to CGC. You'll see that shoot up. But the second cheapest price give some insight onto what's going on with that book. It's not always the cheapest price. Don't always just look at the cheapest price on eBay and assume that's the floor, because the second cheapest price is very revealing. It could be the same price, it could be a few dollars off, it could be $300-400 more for a more common book. There's like 85 of these 9.8s out there, so it's not that rare, and it's a nice Jim Lee cover. So anyways, I just thought I'd give some insight into the backing of what's going on. So let's say that Jim Lee says he's going to sign at a convention come up. People want to jump on eBay, and so someone jumps up on eBay, they get one for $150. The other guy says $300. I want to get it for $150, but he can't find it. He's going to miss the deadline, and maybe a comic book shop will drop ship it to CGC for him. He's like, you know what? If I can sell it for $800 signed, sure, I'll pay $300. So what's it really worth then? If people are willing to pay $300 for it, is it really worth $150? So there's that going on too. There's a lot of books I buy at auctions where I'm willing to pay much, much more. In fact, I put in much more. $1,500 bid and I win it for $1,100. $1,800 bid and I win it for $1,500 or whatnot. So the top guy, that's not what it's worth. What it's worth to him is what he actually bid, and we don't know that. So what is it worth if two guys go out and buy this Conan book to send to Jim Lee? One pays $150, one pays $300, and then all of a sudden that pops up on Comic Tom and he says someone overbid, and what are you people doing? You're not following us. When there's much more to that story going on behind the scenes of why. Whether I pay $150 or $300 for it to send it to Jim Lee to get signed, to have a $700-800 book, I would do that all day. So what is it really worth? Anyways, there's a lot of things going on in this pricing game of comic books. Hopefully that's helpful. Happy hunting, guys.